Welcome to Story Quest. Today, I will be reading Little Woman, Chapter 24, Part 1. In order that we may start afresh and go to Meg's wedding with free minds, it may well be to begin with a little gossip about the marches. And here let me premise that if any of the elders think there's too much lowering in the story, as I fear they may, I'm not afraid the young folks will make that objection. I can only say, with Mrs. March, what can you expect when I have 4 happy girls in the house and a dashing young neighbor over the way? The 3 years that have passed have brought but few changes to the quiet family. The war is over, and Mr. March is safely at home, busy with his books in the small parish which found him a minister by nature as by grace, a quiet, studious man, rich in the wisdom that is better than learning, a charity which calls all mankind brother, the piety that blossoms into character, making it august and lovely. These attributes, in spite of poverty and the strict integrity which shut him out from the more worldly successes, attracted to him many admirable persons, as naturally as sweet herbs draw bees, and as naturally as he gave them the honey, into which 50 years of hard experience had distilled no bitter drop. Earnest young men found the gray-headed scholar as young at heart as they, thoughtful and troubled women instinctively brought their doubts to him. Sure of finding the gentlest sympathy, the wisest counsel, sinners told their sins to the pure-hearted old man, and were both rebuked and saved. Gifted men found a companion in him. Ambitious men caught glimpses of nobler ambitions than their own, and even worldlings confessed that his beliefs were beautiful and true, although they wouldn't pay. To outsiders, the 5 energetic women seemed to rule the house, and so they did in many things, but the quiet scholar, sitting among his books, were still the head of the family, the household conscious anchor and comforter, for to him the busy, anxious woman, always turned in troublous times, finding him in the truest sense of those sacred words, husband and father. The girls gave their hearts into their mother's keeping, their souls into their father's, and to both parents who lived and labored so vainly for them. They gave a love that grew with their growth, and bound them tenderly together by the sweetest tie, which blesses life and outlives death. Mrs. March is as brisk and cheery through grayer than when we last saw her, and just now so absorbed in Meg's affairs that the hospitals and homes, still full of wounded boys and soldiers' widows, decidedly missed the motherly missionaries' visits. John Brooke did his duty manfully for a year, got wounded, was sent home, and not allowed to return. He received no stars or bars, but he deserved them, for he cheerfully risked all he had, and life and love are very precious when both are in full bloom. Perfectly resigned to his discharge, he devoted himself to getting well, business and earning a home for Meg with a good sense and sturdy independence that characterized him. He refused Mr. Lawrence's more generous offers and accepted the place of bookkeeper, but feeling better satisfied to begin with an honestly earned salary than by running any risk with borrowed money. Meg had spent the time in working, as well as waiting, growing womanly in character, wise in housewifely art, and prettier than ever, for love is a great beautifier. She had her girlish ambitions and hopes, and felt some disappointment at the humble way in which the new life must begin. Then Moffat had just married Sally Gardner, and Meg couldn't help contrasting their fine house and carriage, many gifts and splendid outfit with her own, and secretly wishing she could have the same, but somehow envy and discontent soon vanished when she thought of all the patient love and labor John had put into the little home awaiting her, and when they sat together in the twilight, talking over their small plans, the future always grew so beautiful and bright that she forgot Sally's splendor and felt herself the richest and happiest girl in Christendom. Jo never went back to Aunt March, for the old lady took such a fancy to Amy that she bribed her with the offer of drawing lessons from one of the best teachers going, and for the sake of this advantage, Amy would have served a far harder mistress, so she gave her mornings to duty, her afternoons to pleasure, and prospered finely. Jo, meantime, devoted herself to literature, and Beth, who remained delicate long after the fever was a thing of the past, not an invalid exactly, but never again the rosy, healthy creature she had been, yet always hopeful, happy, and serene, and busy with the quiet duties she loved, everyone's friend and an angel in the house, long before those who loved her most have learned to know it. As long as the spread eagle paid her $1, a column per rubbish, as she called it, Jo felt herself a woman of means, and spun her little romances diligently. But great plans fermented in her busy brain and ambitious mind, in the old tin kitchen, in the garret, held a slowly increasing pile of blotted manuscript, which was one day to place the name of March upon the roll of fame. Laurie, having dutifully gone to college to please his grandfather, was now getting through it in the easiest possible manner to please himself. A universal favorite, thanks to money, manners, much talent, and the kindest heart that ever got its owner into scrapes by trying to get other people out of them. He stood in great danger of being spoiled, and probably would have been like many other promising boy if he had not possessed a talisman against evil in the memory of the kind old man who was brought up in his success, the motherly friend who watched over him as if he were her son. At last, but not least by any means, the knowledge that four innocent girls loved, admired, and believed in him with all their hearts, being only a glorious human boy. Of course he frolicked and flirted, true, dignified, aquatic, sentimental, or gymnastic, as college fashions ordained. Haste, and was haste, took slang, and more than once came perilously near suspension and expulsion, but as high spirits and the love of fun were the cause of these pranks, he always managed to save himself by prank, confession, honorable atonement, or the irresistible power of persuasion, which he possessed in perfection. In fact, he rather prided himself on his narrow escapes and liked to thrill the girls with graphic accounts of his triumphs over wrathful tutors, dignified professors, and vanquished enemies. The men of my class were heroes in the eyes of the girls, who never wearied of the exploits of our fellows, and were frequently allowed to bask in the smiles of these great creatures when Laurie brought them home with him. Amy especially enjoyed this high honor and became quite a belle among them, for her ladyship early felt he learned to use the gift of fascination which she was endowed. Meg was too much absorbed in her private, in particular John, to care for any other lords of creation, and Beth too shy to do more than peep at them and wonder how Amy dared to order them about so. But Jo felt quite in her own element and found it very difficult to refrain from imitating the gentlemanly attitudes, phrases, and feats which seemed more natural to her than the decorums prescribed for young ladies. They all liked Jo immensely, but never fell in love with her, though very few escaped without paying the tribute of a sentimental sigh or two at Amy's shrine. And speaking of sentiment brings us very naturally to the Tough Côté. That was the name of the little brown house Mr. Brooke had prepared for Meg's first home. Laurie had christened it, saying it was highly appropriate to the gentle lovers who went on together like a pair of turtle doves, with first a bill and then a coo. It was a tiny house with a little garden behind and a lawn about as big as a pocket handkerchief in the front. Here Meg meant to have a fountain, shrubbery, and a profusion of lovely flowers, though just at present the fountain was represented by a weather-beaten urn, very like a dilapidated slop bowl. The shrubbery consisted of several young larches, undecided whether to live or die, and their profusion of flowers was merely hinted by the regiments of sticks to show where seeds were planted. But inside, it was altogether charming, and the happy bride saw no fault from garret to cellar. To be sure, the hall was so narrow. It was fortunate that they had no piano, for one never could have been got in all. The dining room was so small that 6 people were a tight fit, and the kitchen stairs seemed built for the express purpose of participating both servants and china pell-mell into the coal bin. But once get used to these light blemishes, and nothing could be more complete, for good sense and good taste had presided over the furnishings, and the result was highly satisfactory. There were no marble-top tables, long mirrors, or lace curtains in the little parlor, but simple furniture, plenty of books, a fine picture or two, a stand of flowers in the bay window, and scattered all about the pretty gifts which came from friendly hands, and were the fairer for the loving messages they brought. I don't think the Marian psych lorry cave lost any of its beauty because John put up the bracket it stood up on, and the upholsterer could have draped the plain muslin curtains more gracefully than Amy's artistic hand, or that any storeroom was ever better provided with good wishes, merry words, and happy hopes than that in which Jo and her mother put away Meg's few boxes, barrels, and bundles, and I'm morely certain that the spandy new kitchen never could have looked so cozy and neat if Hannah could not arrange every pot and pan a dozen times over and lay the fire all ready for lighting the minute Miss Brooke came home. I also doubt if any young matron ever began life with so rich a supply of dusters, holders, and piece bags, for Beth made enough to last till the silver wedding came around, and invented 3 different kinds of dishcloths for the express service of the bridal china. People who wire all these things done for them never know what they lost, for the homeliest task get beautified if loving hands do them, and Meg found so many proofs of this that everything in her small nest, from the kitchen roller to the silver vase on her parlor table, was eloquent of home, lover, and tender forethought. What happy times they planned together! That solemn shopping excursions, what funny mistakes they made, and what shouts of laughter arose over Laurie's ridiculous bargains and his love of jokes. This young gentleman, though nearly through college, was as much of a boy as ever. His last whim had been to bring with him on his weekly visits some new, useful, and ingenious article for the young housekeeper. Now a bag of remarkable clothespins, next a wonderful nutmeg grater, which fell to pieces at the first trial, a knife cleaner that spoiled all the knives, or a sweeper that picked the nap neatly off the carpet and left the dirt, labor-saving soap that took the skin off of one's hands, infallible cements which stuck firmly to nothing but the fingers of the deluded buyer, and every kind of tinware, from a toy savings bank for odd pennies to a wonderful boiler which would wash articles in its own steam, with every prospect of exploding in the process. In vain, Meg begged him to stop. John laughed at him, and Joe called him Mr. Toddles. He was possessed with a mania for patronizing Yankee and seeing his friends fitly furnished forth, so each week beheld some fresh absurdity. Everything was done at last, even to Amy's arranging different colored soaps to match different colored rooms, and Beth setting the table for their first meal. Are you satisfied? Does it seem like home? And do you feel as if you should be happy here? Asked Mrs. March, as she and her daughter went through the new kitchen arm in arm, for just then they seemed to cling together more tenderly than ever. Yes, Mother, perfectly satisfied, thank you. Oh, and so happy that I can't talk about it with a look that was far better than words. If she only had a servant or two, it would be all right, said Amy, coming out of the parlor, where she had been trying to decide whether to bronze Mercury looked best on the whatnot or the mantelpiece. Mother and I talked that over, and I've made up my mind to try her way first. There will be so little to do with Lottie to run my errands and help me here and there. I shall only have enough work to keep me from getting lazy or homesick, answered Meg tranquilly. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and comment down below. And if you have not done so already, please subscribe and hit that bell notification for future videos. Please check out my second channel and podcast called Viva Quest. The links are in the description box below.